The moment they stepped into the forest, an uneasy silence fell over the group. Birds seemed to vanish, and the usual sounds of wildlife were replaced by a faint whispering, as if the trees themselves were murmuring warnings. The sky dimmed unnaturally, and shadows twisted unnervingly in the corners of their vision. At first, they laughed nervously, brushing off the feeling that something watched them, something waiting. But when Mike, the most adventurous of them, wandered off to collect firewood, he never returned. Panic erupted, and the group called his name, their voices swallowed by the oppressive darkness. Every snap of a branch made them jump. Every rustle of leaves sounded like pursuit. As night fell, strange shapes flickered among the trees, fleeting glimpses of movement that made their hearts race. Footsteps echoed behind them, only to vanish when they turned. A chilling realization settled over them. The forest was alive, and it had claimed Mike. A low, almost imperceptible growl carried on the wind, a promise that whatever had taken him was still close. Huddled together, they knew their ordeal was only beginning, and the forest had many secrets yet to reveal. They trudged deeper into the forest the next morning, their nerves frayed and eyes constantly scanning the shadows. Locals in the nearest town had warned them, recounting tales of hikers who never returned, of strange carvings found on trees, and of fleeting glimpses of figures that disappeared as quickly as they appeared. They had laughed at the warnings, thinking superstition had fueled these stories. But now the air was heavy with dread, and every sense screamed caution. Suddenly, Emily, the quietest of the group, froze. Carved symbols marred the bark of an old oak, twisted and ancient, almost pulsating with an energy that made their skin crawl. A piece of torn fabric clung to a branch nearby. It was Mike's jacket. Their laughter vanished, replaced by frantic searching and whispered fears. One by one, they noticed other oddities: rocks arranged in patterns, footprints that didn't belong to any animal, and shadows that seemed to move against the wind. Fear clawed at their throats as the forest revealed itself to be more than just a cluster of trees. It was a predator, intelligent and patient. That night the sounds grew closer, whispers almost calling their names, and they realized that leaving would not be so simple. Following a barely visible trail, they ventured deeper, desperation mounting with each step. Every turn seemed to loop back on itself, making them question if they were even moving forward. Abandoned cabins emerged from the undergrowth, their windows dark and empty, boards splintered as if decades of panic had left their mark. Inside, remnants of past visitors told a grim story: tattered clothes, journals filled with desperate pleas, and scratch marks on walls where someone had clawed to survive. A camera, left behind on a rotting shelf, showed blurred figures and distorted faces, frozen in terror. As they pressed on, the forest seemed to respond, twisting paths and shifting landmarks, making escape impossible. Shadows danced along the edge of their vision, vanishing whenever they tried to look directly at them. They were being watched, and the predator knew their every movement. When Sarah lifted her phone to capture an image, a shadow lunged from the corner of her eye, and a scream pierced the air before fading into silence. The forest seemed to pulse with satisfaction, feeding on their fear, and the friends realized that the deeper they went, the less they could trust their own senses. Sleep eluded them as night fell once more, replaced by a relentless, creeping dread. Shadows lingered longer than they should, stretching unnaturally and taking forms that whispered of past horrors. Every sound, a rustle, a snap, even the wind, felt deliberate, targeted, as if the forest itself had a mind. Moving cautiously, they noticed that paths they had memorized twisted and shifted, leaving them disoriented. Objects from the campsite appeared in impossible places, and faint, ghostly figures hovered at the edge of vision, vanishing when confronted. Panic clawed at their throats as whispered promises of safety and lure of missing friends echoed through the trees. No one felt safe, not even together. The forest was hunting them, learning their weaknesses, preying on their desires and fears. Just when they thought they had found a brief clearing, a shape lunged from the shadows. One of them was dragged into the darkness, leaving only a scream that faded into the forest's omnipresent hush. The remaining friends could feel their hope draining as the entity revealed itself not as mindless evil, but a cunning force that thrived on their terror, and it was far from finished with them. Searching through the undergrowth, they stumbled upon an old, leather-bound journal partially buried in leaves. The pages were yellowed and brittle, yet the writing inside pulsed with an urgent warning. The author spoke of a dark force, one that thrived on human desire, twisting what you wanted most into a trap. Each victim's longing was their undoing, their hope weaponized against them. The friends read with horror as the journal described the forest itself as a living predator, patient and cunning, never letting its prey leave once it had chosen them. They realized their fears and personal desires were being manipulated, that the forest had known what each of them valued and was using it to ensnare them. Their hearts pounded as the whispers grew louder, now almost intelligible, taunting them. One friend's longing for reunion, another's desire for fame, all twisted into illusions designed to separate and destroy them. They understood the stakes. Escape wasn't just physical, it was psychological. To survive, they would need to resist their own desires and confront a reality more terrifying than any monster, a force that could see into their souls and punish them for wanting. Fear had split the group, suspicion and mistrust poisoning their bonds. Every decision became a battleground of paranoia, as each friend wondered if the others were secretly betraying them to the forest. A glimmering illusion promised safety, whispered directly into one member's mind, urging them to abandon the rest. Unable to resist, they wandered off alone, following a path that promised reunion or salvation. But the forest had other plans. Shadows grew darker and closer, and the air thickened, oppressive and suffocating. The remaining friends realized the betrayal too late. Screams echoed in the distance, and a chilling note was left behind. It knows you next. Fear turned to terror as they comprehended the depth of the forest's cunning. It didn't just hunt the body, it preyed on trust, friendship, and hope. Alone, the friends understood that every decision could mean death. Their survival depended not just on escaping the trees, but navigating the insidious manipulation of the forest itself. And somewhere, the betrayer's voice joined the whispers, proving that no one could truly be safe. With only two remaining, desperation forced them to confront the entity directly, armed only with knowledge from the journal. Paths twisted unnaturally, the forest looping back on itself, making them question reality. Shadows taunted them, forming figures from memory, echoing fears and regrets. The air felt heavy, almost alive, pressing against their skin. They tried reasoning with the entity, calling it out, demanding an explanation, but it responded not with words but with illusions. Visions of lost loved ones, distorted memories, and impossible outcomes. Every step forward felt like a step deeper into a nightmare designed to break their minds. Finally, they believed they found the heart of the forest, a clearing that seemed to offer exit. Relief surged, only for the forest to reveal its ultimate trick. The ground shifted, trees moved, and the clearing was an illusion, a trap that exposed their deepest vulnerabilities. Fear and determination intertwined as they realized that surviving the forest meant understanding it, resisting it, and confronting a darkness that could see through their very souls. The final confrontation left only one standing at the forest's edge, bloodied, shaken, and forever changed. The forest had claimed most of their group, leaving their bodies, or perhaps their illusions, behind. Every sound of the wind, every shadow among the trees, reminded the survivor that the forest's hunger was never sated. It didn't simply hide what people sought. It replaced it, twisting desire into despair. As the lone survivor stumbled toward safety, the forest's whispers followed, promising that its reach extended far beyond its trees. Across the woods, a new group of hikers entered, oblivious to the danger. The shadows shifted, watching, waiting for fresh prey. The survivor froze, knowing that escape was temporary and that the forest's hunger was endless. What you seek in the forest may never be found, but the forest itself will always find you, in ways you could never imagine. The story ended for now, but the forest had already begun its next hunt.